Hello, welcome once again to an Instagram Live. I'm glad you could join us today. I'm going to be speaking to Carmela Ray, who is from EggFund. And we're going to be talking about the price of infertility. And I don't mean the emotional price, although that's a whole other ball of wax. But the financial aspect of it, which is actually something really close to my heart because that was something we really struggled with. So I'm going to invite Carmela to join. But if you do along the way have any questions that you want to ask, please go ahead and put it, and we will do our best to address it. But again, we're talking about how IVF is like, depending on your medication, it can be anywhere from like 12,000 to 17,000, which I know is crazy. And so, oh, there you are. Hello.
Hey, hi.
You look fabulous.
Thank you. How are you? I love the colors you're wearing. So appropriate for the time of year.
I know. Well, but I was thinking I look a little bit like, remember UHF television when the TV went out?
Yes.
Yes, I look like that, but I'm going to make it work for me.
For that, I don't know if many people on this are.
But... I know. It's kind of a dated reference. So I was just telling everyone that we are talking about EggFund, how they help people afford treatment or surrogacy or adoption or whatever family building path. And I just want to start off by saying, again, for those of you who are just joining us and people are dialing in, that if you have any questions along the way, feel free to put it in the comments and I'll make sure that we'll get it answered. But I went through several rounds of IVF myself, and my insurance only covered $10,000. And then that's like not even one IVF cycle.
Covered. So
well, right. A lot of them don't even have coverage. So for our second IVF, I did a clinical trial. So it was free, but it was crazy intense. And then my third, I borrowed from my parents and my sister. It was and that actually was the one that was successful. So it was like a timeshare baby because everyone contributed whatever works. But let's start with basically an overview for some that may not be familiar with EggFund, how it came to be, and what's like the driving mission.
Sure. I mean, similar to you, we spent much of savings trying to get pregnant. Like many people, waited a while to get married. Not that I waited specifically, but I was just like working, didn't meet the person of my dreams until a little bit later. And by the time I started trying, it was pretty late, and we had issues. I mean, not getting pregnant, but I got pregnant. I couldn't stay pregnant. So I had several miscarriages before it dawned on me, like, hey, I think I need help. And so I sought the help, had very good practitioners advising me, but it just didn't work for us. And it cost about $80,000 of our life savings. Pursuing the dream of that, and not to mention years of pain and anxiety, hormones, the weight, all of it. And the last straw came when I'd finally given up on using my own eggs and caved into going to an egg donor. And the egg donor finally was matched with us after 6 months, and she looked great. And right before she was supposed to start, she disappeared. And my clinic didn't know what to say, didn't know where she was, couldn't get in touch with her. And I just was like, whoa, I was prepared for a lot, but not for that. So I gave up. My husband looked at me and said, hey, look, I want to have a family, but not at the risk of losing you to get it, because at this point, years into it, I was so depressed, so anxious. It gave me permission to step back and realize, like, this wasn't going to work. I was failing at this job, and gave me permission to fail. And I let go. And in that process, it was really great, because at my lowest point was when the idea for EggFund was born. So our mission is to help other people have a better experience than I had, and to help people afford to have a family that they want, because we believe that you shouldn't have to be wealthy to be able to have a family. We think it's a human right, if you want to be able to have a family. And unfortunately, 1 in 8 Americans, we all know the statistics, are stricken with infertility. But what many of us don't realize is that about 75% of those who are stricken with infertility, who could use the help, don't seek it out because they can't afford it. And
Right.
that's wrong. And so EggFund's here to help people who are in this situation find financing to help them afford to undergo, like you said, a numerous ways of becoming a parent. However you want to do it, it's up to you. We're agnostic. We will help you get there. We'll help you afford to get there. And since we started, we've grown immensely. We started with one lender, and now we are the largest platform with 10 national lenders who will lend for every aspect of the journey. So it's pretty much a one-stop shop for people to come and hopefully get funded for their journey. And so they could at least get that off their plate and focus on having the family, not how to pay for it.
No, the thing I always said as again, my sick sense of humor, but I was like, fertile people can basically like say, hey, should we have another kid? Where people who are dealing with infertility are like, can we afford the chance to try and have another child? It's so, again, IVF can range across the United States depending on where you live, what clinic you go to, what your coverage is, from like 12,000 to 17 and up, really, depending on your medication, if you're doing genetic testing. And there have been numerous studies, but there's one I always quote that I know depresses people, but I do believe it. It's the one from JAMA, which is the most recent, that it can take 6 to 9 IVF cycles to achieve live birth. And when you do the math, that's really overwhelming.
Astounding. It's a house and a Mercedes. Yeah, I often use the analogy, like imagine this. Would you ever in your life go to, like, I don't know, a Porsche dealer, go to the salesman and say, I want to buy a Porsche, and the Porsche dealer says, okay, pay right now and wait over there, and I'm going to drive up your car, and it may be a Porsche, maybe a jalopy that doesn't work. You may be able to drive off this lot, but when you go down the street, it might break down. But go ahead and give me this $80,000 for this car right now with no guarantees that you'll actually get the Porsche. But that's exactly what happens to families who are going through infertility. No other place in your life would you ever handle anything like this. But away so much of that power for the dream, for the, chasing that dream to have a family. Of course, I mean, it's, if you wanted, I mean, there's nothing more that you want in your life if this is what you've decided that you want. And so you'll take that risk, and you'll take that risk again and again and again. And it becomes, to say it becomes financially impactful is a great understatement. I'm not known for my understatements. I mean, it's pretty bad. So, so, part of what we're doing with EggFund is trying to hopefully get the word out so people start planning earlier. The earlier you plan, the better off you are, because you'll be in better shape. I mean, part of it is that people haven't thought about it until it actually happens to them. So they haven't financially planned for it. We financially plan for retirement. We financially plan for a wedding, for college, where it's drilled into our head. Plan, save. But no one ever talks to you about planning for a family. It costs, if you're going natural and you don't have issues, it costs a lot of money. So our goal is to make people more aware of this life's milestone and start planning for it financially, so you're not stuck in a position where you're now about to cycle and now you need to find a way to come up with money to be able to undergo the treatment, which is how a lot of patients come to us, and a lot of other people who are in different situations come to us at kind of like at a very crucial moment.
I want to acknowledge at Twin Peaks, I love your handle, is asking what are the APRs, and that actually leads nicely into everything else because anytime I think of a loan, I grew up like with a very, how do I say this nicely, cheap dad. So like owing anyone money.
Conservative.
Yes, thank you, conservative. So like you don't ever want to owe anyone money. So like taking out a loan can sound scary, especially like sitting down and applying. And what can you give us some of the tips for those planning to apply? And if you can answer Twin Peaks' question about the APRs, that would be great.
Absolutely. We'll go into that. So when you're getting ready to apply, the first thing that you should do is check your credit score. Even if you think you know it, if you haven't checked it really recently, check it again. Okay. Yeah. And if you are like most of the people who come here and you're about to get started, there isn't that much that you can do to change it unless you see there are errors in your credit report that can be fixed. But all that takes a little bit of time, assuming that you don't have that, like most people.
Right.
Get your credit score. The credit score is going to determine what your APRs are in large part, as well as a couple of other factors. The credit score tells the lender how creditworthy you are, how much of a chance they can take on you. What you're actually taking out on a platform like EggFund is an unsecured personal loan. So unlike the car that we talked about, or a home, which has an underlying asset that the lender can grab if you don't pay back, with a personal loan, uncollateralized, like a fertility loan, like an EggFund loan, there isn't that collateral. So it's a very risky proposition for the lender. So they're going to be looking very carefully at your credit profile. And the APRs reflect not only the market and the fact that this is uncollateralized and therefore it's more risky and therefore the lenders are going to want much more return, but they're also looking at how much of a credit risk you are. Now we have 10 lenders on our platform. Each one of those lenders will have their own credit profile, like their own underwriting criteria, their rates. So there is not one APR to quote you because there's literally nearly a dozen lenders on our platform. The best thing to do if you want to find out what you'd be eligible for is just to check your offers. You can do that on EggFund without hurting your credit score because it is called a soft pull. Just go on there, start the application, and you'll see it takes just a few moments and your offers will pop up on your screen and you will know your APR, you will know your term, you will know exactly what your fixed monthly payment would be, you'll know who the lender is. And if you don't like what you see, you don't have to move forward. There's no fee to apply with us and it doesn't hurt your credit score because the fact that it is a soft pull.
That was the thing that always scared me. I know we've talked about this.
Yes.
When you check your credit score, I suck at stuff like this, but I always thought it did hurt your credit score when you just checked. Like just by checking or applying for anything, you hurt your credit score.
If you're doing too much of it within like a short period of time, it may, but in most cases, people are not going all over the place. They're not going to 4 or 5 different places. If you're just checking what's called a soft pull, they're not doing a complete credit pull on you. They are not going to affect your credit score. Okay. What happens though, if you see an offer that you like and you double click on it and you then go to the lender and complete the application with the lender, they're going to do a complete credit check on you before they release any funds, approve any loans. Any lender would do that. And that will affect your credit score more likely.
And it's funny, again, another comment, they were thinking of taking a second mortgage out on their home. Why would you recommend EggFund over doing that? Or would you?
I would check both. Yeah, I would check both. And this happens to us a lot. I often refer clients in other directions where they'll save money. Like, look at what the APR that you are eligible for through EggFund and go to your bank and second mortgage, not only the rates, but what the closing costs might be, because there's going to be closing costs associated with a second mortgage, any bank fees, lawyer fees. Get that all together and then make your decision. It may very well be that the home equity loan might be better, or second mortgage might be better for you. I won't know. I can't tell you for sure, but checking information is power. That's what, in part, what we're here to do, is to arm you with the information so you can make good decisions for yourself.
Well, it's also just comforting to know you have options. Because, like, as opposed to like, well, I can't afford it, I'm screwed.
But if you have credit, maybe you have more than one lender wanting to give you a loan, and you have a choice. Like, you're put back in the driver's seat, which is what I really wanted to do for my patients, for my clients.
On that note, what if you have bad credit? Like, are you still able to get a loan?
Well, you can. Here at EggFund, we put a minimum credit score at 600. So that covers a lot of Americans. I'd say probably most Americans, 600 and up. So with us, as long as you have a minimum 600 credit score, you can apply, and you may be approved, because again, we have lenders across the credit spectrum, just like we have patients and intended parents who are across the credit spectrum. Our lenders reflect that. So having a low credit score does not mean you will not get a loan. Again, check your offers and see. And if you don't get approved, there are ways to try again to get approved, which I can go into whenever we want. I talk about it.
Well, it's funny, really quick, when I had to check I've also become obsessive about it now. I had to check my credit, like when we were going to buy a house, which, by the way, we probably would have bought a house sooner if we didn't do fertility treatment. Because all the money we got for our wedding, we were going to buy a house with, but it ended up going to fertility treatment. But I was checking my credit, and it's funny because you mentioned this earlier. It said I owed Verizon money. And I had no idea. I don't even remember the account. I don't remember where it's from. Nothing. And you were saying just check it anyway. It's entirely possible, as I learned, that when you do check it, you're like, oh, I gotta hunt it down. Mm-hmm. And then finally I found it. It was like $30, but it was just sitting there. And so I paid it, and then my credit went up. So I just want to throw that out there for anyone who's going to check their score. So
absolutely. Don't just check your credit score, but get your entire credit report. Get your credit report, it's called. So that'll have all the detail, because there could very well be errors on that credit report, and you could fix those errors. Again, it usually doesn't happen overnight. So depending on your time frame, it may happen in time or not in time for your first cycle. But as many people have multiple cycles, unfortunately, that they need. Yeah. It may not be a first time around, but like maybe by the time, if you have to cycle again, you could have your credit in a better spot.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very shocking to me, because I didn't even know I owed this money, and it was impacting my credit. That was like, I was shocked. Now, for someone who's secured a loan and they're working their way through the process of treatment or adoption or surrogacy, what do you think the next steps are financially?
The next steps after you secure your loan, honestly, is to get ready to start paying it back, because those lenders payment right away. So let's say like next month, so you have to really be good about paying these back. Now, one thing I'd like to point is sometimes we get a windfall, like a tax refund, a tax credit, a bonus at Christmas, a signing bonus. I highly recommend that if you get those little extra bonuses, influxes of cash, put it toward your loan and repaying it, because with these loans, you can prepay them early without a penalty. And that will save you money and interest. So let's say, you get a $2,000 bonus from your boss for Christmas or whatever, for holidays.
One can hope.
You got this loan that you're paying back every month, and the interest rate on it is 11%. It makes a lot more sense for you to take that $2,000 and pay toward your loan than it is to put it in your bank account, where you're likely getting, 0.5%. You're earning 0.5%, but you're paying 11% on the other side. So what I say is get ready to pay on time, and communicate with the lenders. If you encounter difficulty, it's really important for you to keep an open communication with your lenders and see if there's something that they can do with rescheduling your payments, working with you on that. Again, the faster you pay it off, the more you save in interest.
Is there a way, this may be a dumb question, is there a way to prepare, like, just how do you prepare to start paying back? Does that make any sense? Like, is there something you can do to start getting ready when you're about to take out the loan to make sure that you're paying it back on time, or that you have the funds to pay it back?
Well, it's actually a really good question. The lenders take care of a lot of that because they automatically will withdraw it from the bank account that you
Like you do a set amount or something?
Yeah, so it's usually a fixed payment that comes out every month, which is very good because when you've accepted the loan, you know every month what that fixed monthly payment will be over the life of the loan, and they will take it out of your bank account. So obviously, if you're getting like direct deposit from your paycheck into that account, then that's going to be there to hopefully cover your monthly payment. If not, then you should work on making sure that you're automatically depositing funds into the account that gets withdrawn from to make your payments on a regular basis once you get your paycheck. Say, for instance, make sure that you can set up automatic transfers into like a savings account or a checking account or vice versa to make sure the funds are there to cover. But the lenders more and more are doing everything electronically.
And then, so when I paid for my third IVF, I put it on my credit card. And do you think, or maybe it's the same thing as the mortgage with your house, do you think there are better advantages to taking out a loan as opposed to putting it on your credit card? I feel like the credit card percentages, the interest rates, percentages, are actually really effing high, just to be honest.
Yeah, they tend to be higher than fixed loans. They tend
That's
to be
what I would guess. Yeah.
Say again?
Well, if you're
like
saying, go ahead.
Percent and higher.
Yeah, and I feel like they're not as flexible, right? Like you said, you can call your lender.
Yeah, you're going to get late fees if you're late. You know, it's going to very quickly snowball. And what I sometimes hear from clients who call is, hey, I've got this offer from this credit card company for 0 interest for 6 months or a year. That's a really good way to do it if you know you will pay back the entire amount before the end of the 6 months. If not, you can be hit with the interest plus fees on top of that retroactively for that 6 months, plus pay a very high interest rate going forward. So it's very touchy, very dangerous to be playing around with credit card offers with 0 interest, unless, again, you know, for some reason, maybe you're coming into money in a few months, or you're expecting a tax credit to come to you within a few months, and you know that you'll pay completely off, because I tell you, if you don't, you're going to get walloped with fees. So that's the only way that it makes sense. Otherwise, fixed rate loans, you're gonna have a fixed rate, exactly that, and if you pay on time, you're not getting late fees.
And just because a couple of people have joined, just for the new people that have joined, we're talking about EggFund and how they help people afford family building. And on that note, is there anything that you don't cover? I think you cover everything, right? Like fertility treatment, adoption, surrogacy, donor eggs. Is there anything that isn't, or?
No, we've covered how do I say, reversing surgeries that made people unable.
Like tubal reversal or vasectomies, or wow,
for that too. I mean,
that's great. So anything fertility related.
Yeah, anything family building, fertility related. Egg freezing we cover egg freezing as well, because that's part of family planning, planning for your future family. You're trying to make sure that you can have one with your own eggs later, and that's why you're freezing. So, we cover that as well. No, I don't put. The goal is to say yes as often as we can. That's pretty much the goal.
And then, and forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, I think you started out with, you said one lender, and then you've partnered with clinics since then, roughly?
Yeah, we work with clinics all over the country, over 200 clinics
Oh,
refer
wow.
to EggFund as the source of financing because they see it in their offices, they see
Yeah.
it when there's patients. There's a percentage of patients that never come back for treatment because they simply can't afford it. So for clinics, this is a great option because we cover a broad spectrum. And with clinics, there's no work for them to do. They just here, they give them our card or our link, call EggFund, they'll take care of you. And that's it. That's all that they need to do. And the patient is paid, and when the patient receives their funds, they start their treatment and they pay the clinic. So it's really hands-free. It solves a lot of problems for them.
So in order to do that, I've been on the website a lot. Actually, my colors of the dress sort of match the website.
Actually, I didn't wear my orange today. I actually couldn't find the t-shirt because it's packed in I didn't unpack it yet because we just moved. So I don't know where it is.
Well, subconsciously, I think I'm sporting the EggFund colors. But I've been on the website a lot, and I don't know if I've totally memorized it. But from what I understand, you literally can be matched with someone. I think, what is it, in seconds? Is it seconds? 60 seconds. So for those who are interested, because again, the person who was asking about the APR and the mortgage, how did they go through the process then? They go to your website, and then what do they do?
It's so easy. You can even do it from your phone. Super easy peasy. If you go to myeggfund.com and you click Get Started. When you click Get Started, it'll take you to our fertility loans page. There's a short 8-question application there. You fill in those super obvious questions like, what's your name? What's your zip code? How much do you think you need? Did a clinic refer you? You fill that out. Click Apply Now. And then you'll start the process. And some of the questions that lenders will ask to match you is, be prepared with what is your household income? What is your overhead? They usually want to know that. This is also the time where you can add a co-applicant. You could co-apply with somebody. And why to do that?
Yeah, it was about that's a good point. I used to work, and I mentioned this to you privately. I used to work for a company called Egg Banks, which was really popular for a bit, and it helped people finance their egg freezing cycles. And I remember that would come up a lot where maybe a woman who just graduated college or maybe is going to medical school wanted to freeze her eggs, and her parent would be a co-applicant. So that's something that, how does that work?
Absolutely. We make it really easy for people to have someone join them on the application. It could be a parent, it could be a spouse, it could be your partner, it could even be a sibling. I've seen that as well.
Oh, wow.
It does need to be a specific type of relationship, so to speak.
It can't just be your neighbor? It can't just, there has to be some sort of...
It can be your neighbor as long as they are willing to take on the financial responsibility that comes with being a co-applicant. That means their name is on the loan. That means if you stop making your payments, the lenders are going to come after you. Your credit score is affected both by the application and by the loan being just out there. So it is very, it's an impact. So usually the only people who are willing to do that are people who are very close to you.
Right.
In some way, shape, or form. And then it comes in the form of those type of relationships. And let's say we've had this happen where one of the applicant or literally the person undergoing the treatment might be in school, in grad school. Happened to me.
Yeah.
It happened a few weeks ago. Someone was in grad school. She doesn't have income, but her husband is working. What does she do? Do they apply jointly? Does he apply on his own? He could apply on his own if instead of her. So in lieu of her taking out the loan, he could take it out on his own. So it's really that we make it that flexible. So you can do a co-joint application that's very flexible, or in certain cases, if that even isn't enough, someone can apply in your stead. Again, that person will be financially responsible, and whether the loan is approved is going to be solely based on that person's credit standing and their credit profile. So it's an obligation, but again, a parent, a spouse, a sibling, someone who's really close to you may be willing to take that on for you to be able to realize the stream.
Oh, wow. So now you fill all that out, you apply, and is it that you get matched with different lenders, or you immediately are told whether or not? Oh, okay.
Yes. So like you put in this information, just exactly what we just spoke about. You hit submit, and in 60 seconds, you'll see this kind of come up on the screen, timer. They'll pop up on the screen. Your offers will pop up on the screen, and it will indicate all this information: who the lender is, what the APR is, what the term of the loan is, what your monthly payment is. So you hopefully will get multiple offers, but maybe you only get one. Either way, you're seeing exactly what you're eligible for on the screen. And you can make a decision from there whether you want to proceed. If you don't like what you see, you don't have to proceed. If you do like what you see, click on the link provided in the offer, and you will complete the application with the lender at that time. And the lender's likely going to ask you for things like a copy of your driver's license. You know, they may ask some further information to make sure it's you who is taking out the loan, who you are, who you say you are. And then they're going to ask your permission to do a full credit check. And they're going to do their full credit check. And assuming everything is all okay and up to date and as stated in the application, you will be funded directly. So that's another thing that we do. We don't fund the clinic. We fund the patient, which enables the client to go wherever they want. Either whether you're the patient, the intended parent, you could go to any agency.
That's actually, it's a very good point, because, and I always say this, after every failed cycle, I usually switch doctors. I don't know if it made any difference, but mentally I'm like, all right, that didn't work. I'm going to get a second opinion or a third opinion. And so you're not beholden to one clinic if the money is given to the clinic as opposed to you. Now, so after you get the loan, you've talked about the importance of making sure that you prepay it, but what else happens after you get the loan, if anything, or you just get pregnant?
So after you get the loan, hopefully you get pregnant. Yeah, the loans are, the funds put into your bank account electronically. It can happen as soon as 24 hours, but most of the time I advise give it a few business days, just to, in case, you know, people need to check your credit. There might be, you know, a lag, you know, just to be on the safe side. I tell people to give it a little bit, 1 or 2, 3 business days to do it. But then you'll have the funds in your account. And once you have the funds in your account, it's up to you where you go for your clinic, schedule your treatment, and you start. According to the lender, you've been dispersed the funds, and that's it. Like, their hands are washed of it at that point in terms of the funding. They're not watching which clinic you've given it to under this system. Right. It's up to you. We treat you like an adult. Like, okay, you took the funds out for treatment. We assume you're going to go figure out your treatment now that you've been funded. But your payments will be due the next month, whether you've scheduled your treatment or not. The lenders disperse the funds, and they're going to want to start getting repaid.
Now, I don't know if you know this information, but has anyone who's used EggFund reported back to you, you know, either they're pregnant or their surrogate's pregnant, or like, did you ever get any like actual updates from the people who use EggFund?
I wish I did.
That would kill me.
I really want that. I would love to know that. I know that we funded hundreds of people, and I've got to think of those.
Oh, there has to be. Yeah, there has to be some successes there.
Yeah, I mean, it's very heartwarming to know that, you know, we've helped create families. I know that we have. I just don't know who, and I think I have to put a call out, Jay. I think I'm going to need some help doing that, but I'm going to need to put a call out for all EggFund funded babies. Please let us know.
Yeah,
You
I mean, I
said
don't mean to get all up in everyone's uterus, but I mean, if it were me and I started this company, I would be so curious because, going back to the very beginning, you're coming from your own personal journey, your own fertility experience, and the fact that you were quite literally paying it forward to people who otherwise may not be able to attain some of these family building options without a loan. Yeah, it would be great to know how it turned out and who had success. And yeah, that's amazing.
I'm kind of very conscious of it being a really difficult time in people's lives and not pushing, you know.
Yeah.
So been kind of like very tiptoeing around that because of that, and not trying not to be intrusive on people, because some people are open and want to talk about their struggle, and other people are very private, and I respect that. I'm very private myself. Actually, although you may not believe that given what I do now, but I actually am super private. So I guess I empathize a lot with the more introverted people who maybe don't want the whole world to know what they've been through.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. And then in terms of EggFund, is there any future things that you're planning, like expanding, that you want to share that maybe that might help people?
Sure. Well, we expanded a few months ago into baby loans because we realized that once people do get pregnant, that oftentimes, like my bill from having my baby, actually I ended up getting pregnant. Is, I guess I should share that about the story.
Yay.
Spontaneously, miraculously pregnant with my daughter Elizabeth, who's now 3. But when I was in the hospital, thank God we had good insurance by that time, because our insurance bill was, well, it was crazy high. And
Yeah.
so we realized that if you don't have like really good insurance, you can be paying thousands of dollars out of pocket for staying in the NICU, for any number of reasons, which are very common today, for a C-section, which are very common in the United States. And people aren't prepared for that either, because again, it's part of the larger thing. People are not prepared for the costs of having a family. It's just somehow supposed to magically happen. And
Well, and with my son, my first son, I have 2 sons. My first son, he was in the NICU for 9 days. And then I was in the hospital for 6 because we
yeah,
had some complications. And we did have insurance, which covered the most of it. But even with the insurance, it was a mess. And it was funny. I remember talking to the insurance company at the time, and I'm like one of those people that like always talks like the cashiers, and I just engage everyone in conversation. So I had a whole conversation with the woman with insurance at the insurance place, and she was telling me that she's had times where twins were in the NICU and they cover one twin but not the other, and you're like,
wow.
what the hell? But I mean, I kind of believe it. So yeah, that's brilliant, because the baby loans, definitely people could use that as well. And people can do both. They can do one for fertility treatment and one for baby loans, or it doesn't really matter because it's all just a loan.
If they need it, there's a baby loan section. We separate it out on our site, so it's pretty much it's the same product. It's just a different section of our site. Again, trying to be respectful of the different point in the journey that you are when you're doing one versus the other, and messaging to people around those very particular needs in those 2 particular situations. So for the baby loan,
Yeah.
yes, it could be for hospital stays that are unexpected. It could be for the cost of putting together the nursery or a car seat, or I mean, like these crazy costs for like a stroller. I mean, all the paraphernalia that goes along with it, that adds up to thousands of dollars. It's a lot. So that's why we put it together. It's from my own firsthand experience. I'm like, this sucks. This is really expensive. There should be people, how could people be affording this? This is like crazy. So this is what informed my my product engineering. And there's going to be some more to come on EggFund that it's too early to discuss, but hopefully I'll be able to share more of that with you, some more ways, some more products to come that will get more people eligible to receive funding.
I mean, I think all this is great, again, because I just remember my third cycle didn't go very well. Well, it's funny that I'm saying that, because my third cycle was the one that was successful, but not to TMI, they retrieved like 13 eggs, but I only had one embryo. And so even my doctor was like, no, the cycle isn't going to work. Like everyone sort of assumed it wasn't going to work. And she was like, oh, for the fourth cycle, we're going to do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, I don't know how to tell her I can't afford it. I'd already done a clinical trial. I'd already borrowed money from my parents. I already got a bonus from work that I used. So for me, that's why this is still such a big issue to me. It's mentally, emotionally, physically, like I get a pain in my chest when I think about it, because if you don't want to give up on your dream of being a parent, however that may come to you, and you're literally like, I don't know how I'm going to afford this. I don't even know. I guess maybe there were medical loans when I was trying to conceive, but I didn't know about it. So I hope this helps people.
My clinic didn't even give me the option. They didn't even talk to me about it. I put it on I was one of those idiots who put it on their credit card.
Well, I did too. I mean, because there was really nothing else to do. But like I said, my parents had given me some money, and even my sister did.
Sign up.
But as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to highlight that I may have missed? You're freezing on me. Are you still there? Oh, there you are. You're back. Okay, sorry, you froze there for a second.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to highlight that maybe I didn't ask?
You know, I think it's just really important, as soon as you think you might be going down the road of getting assistance, start planning for the financial part, as well as the medical, all of that, and the well-being, all that. You start taking care of yourself as early as you possibly can. Even if you think it's too early, better safe than sorry. If you don't end up needing it, that's great. But start at least knowing where you are from a credit standpoint, and you might have enough lead time to fix it if you need to.
I have to give a shout out to
early as you can.
Sorry to interrupt. I want to give a shout out because Apsara Therapy, I hope I got the name right. She's saying this was very valuable information. I'm an infertility therapist and support couples going through the stress of infertility. Finance is a huge stressor for an already stressful situation. I could not agree with you more. That was the biggest issue, because you may want to keep trying and you don't know if you can afford it. So thank you for sharing that. And again, if anyone has any other comments or questions, please feel free to let me know. Thank you. Sorry, someone said that's a smart strategy. Thank you. Someone also asked if, I don't know, they said, I don't know, can you see any of the comments or no?
Yes, hard team for me, but that's a smart.
I know, there was a question earlier saying, where'd you get your wig from? And neither one of us is wearing a wig.
Yeah, I'm like.
I know, it's always fun, the comments you get.
Bad hair, it's super frizzy, super frizzy, so I apologize for it. This is as good as it gets in 95-degree weather in New York or Connecticut.
We're both in New York, and it is like 90-something degrees. That's the only reason why my hair is up. But whoever wanted to know what wigs we have, that we don't have any wigs. But I'm trying to think of anything else I want to ask you or anything else to highlight. Again, I guess it's just as we wrap up. This really speaks to me because that was one of the biggest stressors. If you know you have unlimited funds, you're like, oh, I could keep trying. Like I worked with someone at an investment banking firm, and they did 10 IVFs. And he was like in the C-suite. And I remember thinking, well, yeah, he could afford 10 IVFs. I mean, I'm not saying anyone would want to do that, But when finances aren't an issue, you're not worried about, well, I mean, you still worry about having a child, but you know you can keep trying, or you know you can explore other options. And the thing I always say is sometimes it's not if you'll be a parent, it's how. And so when you kind of explore the how, it's just now the next part is if you're open to donor eggs, if you're open to working with a gestational carrier or donor sperm, how do you afford it? And so if you are on this journey and you're trying to explore your options, this is, I think, something that's really valuable that didn't exist that I know of when I was trying to conceive. So, what were you going to say?
Absolutely. It didn't exist for me. That's why I created it.
Right. Yeah. So for anyone who's interested, who this speaks to, definitely visit EggFund's site. And I believe, can people contact you to ask you questions? Do they do that through the site, or do they do that through EggFund Instagram? You've frozen again. No pun intended, as we're all sweating. Are you there? Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you're cutting in and out. I'm still here, but you're cutting in and out, so I'm not hearing everything that you're saying.
All right. You know, like at the Oscars when they play the orchestra? Yes, because you're cutting out too. So I may be me. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I'm in upstate New York-ish. So it may be me. But is there anything else you want to add before we end our Instagram Live? And again, thank you everyone for your comments and questions and for those who joined.
Absolutely. If anyone has any questions about this, feel free to reach out to us. You can email me at info@myeggfund.com. It's pretty easy to remember. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. DM us. I'm happy to answer any questions. Call me. I talk to people all the time. I love that. And I want to thank everybody, and thank you especially, Jay, for putting together very thoughtful questions.
Well, and again, I just think what you're doing is so helpful. And I wish I had it. I mean, obviously, I was able to have a family, but man, it was close. There's no way we could have done a fourth cycle. Not at all. So thank you, everyone, for joining. We're going to sign off. This video will be available on my Instagram, and I think we're going to have it somehow. I'll send it to you, and you can share it on EggFund. But thank you again to everyone who joined, and thank you for the people who commented on normal things and nice things.
Yes.
as opposed to superfluous ones. But thank you. All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks.
Everybody, have a great day wherever you are.
Bye-bye.